We're in relationship with a God that is on a mission of redemption as we read all throughout Scripture. We understand as pastors one of the most important things that we can do is come alongside our people and equip them to understand, know, not just understand and know though, also use their spiritual giftedness, their unique spiritual giftedness. And so I wondered if you guys would take just a few moments and talk a little bit about how you're articulating that, talking with that, why you think it's important in your context. John, maybe you go first. Why is it that you think that your folks understanding their spiritual giftedness is essential to what God's doing in the world?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's realizing you're called to a body of believers.
Yeah.
Our church isn't the only church in town. There's a lot of great churches, but it's got to start with you knowing this is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Once you know you're in the church that God has called you to be, that means you have a gift that is important to that body of believers. So I think for us, it's identifying that first question.
Yeah.
Is this your church?
Yeah.
See, because then you don't walk around going, oh, they don't do this right, they don't do that right, they don't have this program.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
go, look, this is the church regardless. Maybe I'm here to help bring it to what God has called to be. And once they've identified that, we go, okay, now what's your gifting? And we take spiritual gift tests, and they're not 100%, you
Sure.
know, but it's a good directional model to use. And I got sick of guys, you know, me putting guys in positions that they didn't like or weren't gifted for. Mm-hmm. They get burned out, and I lose them. I go, why are you leaving the church? Why are you, you know, they didn't understand that. So this gives us, when you function in your gifting, you can do it into eternity because it's what brings you joy and what God has created you to do.
Right. Some of you that have grown up in or around the church, to hear John talk about taking a spiritual gift survey, inventory, that kind of thing, was not foreign to you. I think all of us would say in our context, if you were interested in taking one of those, we can get those to you to fill out. One of the things that we have found at Summit to be incredibly beneficial, though, is not just taking it and answering the questions on our behalf, but going to the 5 people, maybe the 6 people that know us best and saying, speak into my life. Yeah. How are you encouraged through me within the context of the body?
Right.
And for a lot of folks, that's kind of like that aha moment. Right. I've never been able to really pin it myself necessarily. I think it could be this, it could be that. To have other people speak into our life and say, I see this, and I want to affirm this in you is huge. Talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in Syracuse.
Well, I think we always try to remind people when it comes to spiritual giftedness that every person in our context is responsible to obey all of the commands of Scripture.
Huge.
Not just, well, I've got the gift of this, I've got the gift of that, so that's only what I do.
Yeah.
And when they do that in the context of the community, in relationship with each other, hands and feet operating with each other, then the entire body is able to say, absolutely, that is the giftedness that you have. Because oftentimes we'll have people come and they say, I'm called to this or I want to do that.
Right.
And I think it's really important for the body to be able to affirm that.
Yeah.
Not to say, no, you don't, or yes, you do, but to, alongside of a person, as they begin to identify their spiritual giftedness, for the body to be able to say, we see this in you as well. Because that's also going to strengthen that commitment and that resolve in the individual, and it helps identify for the body particular people to serve in particular functions in the life of the church, in the ministry of the gospel outside of the church.
Absolutely.
I think when we look, I think it's Blackaby who said that less than 10% of the church functions in their gifting.
Yeah.
And we're leaving 90% of the people out there wondering why I'm going to church.
Right.
And I think it's our job to help them identify their gift, and then get them functioning in that gift so that they become more effective and able to share.
Absolutely.
That would be our challenge to you. Have you discovered what your spiritual giftedness is? And if you haven't, would you be willing to begin that process? If you have, I think the follow-up question would be, are you currently using it? Are you engaged in what that spirit giftedness is? And if not, lovingly we would say, why not? Right. You know, the sad reality is there are many people who sit in our congregations and in other congregations around America who have had a relationship with Jesus for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And they either do not know their gifts or they refuse to walk in them. And the church body and the mission of God in the world is poor for it.
Suffers.
Well, the whole idea behind what we're doing here today is this very thing. And on the home page as you go there, it says gifts test. You can click on this video. You can take a spiritual gifts test today and get the results back immediately and look at those. share them with your friends, share them with your pastor, and really see what gifts I have and how I can run down that lane.
It's great.